Hello everybody, welcome back to Season 2, Episode 5, also known as Episode 564, called Robots in Disguise. We're calling this one Robots in Disguise because we aren't just celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Transformers. We're looking at the invisible technology affecting our lives, like the massive Linux vulnerability that recently surfaced.
All right, we actually made it through the intro. That's really good. Welcome to the Caffination podcast. If you are looking for this or any of its other episodic brethren, you can find them lovingly nestled over at www.caffination.com. If you are looking to get a hold of us, caffination@gmail.com. If you are looking to find us on test socials, we are Caffination or The Caffination, depending on which one you are. For instance, Instagram, The Caffination. I wasn't quick enough. So, all right, we got a good show lined up for you today. We're going to be talking about a whiplash of topics. There is a ton that we're going to go over, and there's only the most tenuous thread between them. Right, Amber?
Yeah. There's a lot of mixed subjects and genres.
So this is what happens, like, usually at night, I will sit there on my phone and I will share random facts with everyone in the house. And the facts go from left to right, front to back. They're all over the place, and it's just whatever I happen to find while I'm surfing the internet. That's what this show has always been, and that's kind of how I've been going forward. So if I felt the need to share a story, I put it in the show. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. What did you do geeky this week, Amber?
This week, let's see. I got really good grades on tests without meaning to.
That is quite geeky. All right, that is phenomenal. How high up are you? Wait, what? Isn't there one where you're over 100?
I was, but now I'm at a 97 because when you get too many 90s and all of that, it starts going down.
At one point, I think it was English.
English was 105, math, geometry was 107.
Yeah, so, she came back down to earth, and now she has a measly 97. We're upset she's not allowed to go out anymore. We're thinking of taking her off the sports teams. All right. Geeky this week for me, I had to fix the Caffination itself. The site had massive problems. We were getting attacked by bot swarms, not just AI bot swarms, scraping all 1,700 individual stories that are lovingly nestled on this show. That's a lot of stuff. We've been around since 2006. This podcast predates you by 4 whole years.
Yeah.
I introduced the fact that you were on your way on this podcast, and now you're a co-host. That's pretty cool, I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's the year Paul was born. I think he started everything up.
I started it up before he was born, believe it or not.
Wow.
All right. So geeky this week, as opposed to just digging through, I am an archaeologist by trade, and that was ancient history. So... or by training, anyway. So, yeah. So, the first thing we got up for you here, don't trust your textbooks, folks. This is kind of fun. And my daughter has told me something that makes me feel absolutely ancient before we get to this story. Why didn't you want to talk about this story?
I don't really use textbooks anymore. We really just use our Chromebooks.
Yeah, so I feel ancient because I'm of the back in the day where you had to cover your textbooks with paper bags or newspaper or get like a book cover. They even had it easier when she was in grade school because they had book socks that you just wrapped around the book and it would fit perfectly. It was elastic. They didn't know anything about the paper bag route.
Yeah,
so,
it got so bad us not using them and they don't update their stuff too often. So my Spanish teacher told us to get a book sock. We don't even use it. It's just there, and we were told you have to get it in by this time. They didn't have the textbooks in the time. So once we got the textbooks, like, supposedly in, it was online.
Okay. Well, now you understand that textbooks are not often updated, right?
Well, yeah.
So, I mean, like, you've seen this and through your experience. So when they do update them, it's a really important thing. Well, in Saudi Arabia, the education minister had to apologize because they produced a school textbook where Yoda was seen with their late King Faisal. So he's sitting at the table. Obviously, Yoda is a intergalactic expert and a religious leader to boot. But I don't think he ever met the king of Saudi Arabia. So they made big mistakes, and that's ended up there.
I mean, how would we know if he actually met him or not?
True.
You never know.
It could be fun like that.
Yeah.
All right, now the next thing up here, Amber doesn't even know what this is.
No.
That's okay. If you talk to most people who are older than you, they know what Chernobyl is. It's a nuclear power plant in the Ukraine that had a meltdown. No one can live within like 100 miles of it. It is completely empty. There's an amusement park there. There's all kinds of stuff. People had to leave immediately.
Oh, that's what the one teacher was talking about.
Yeah.
They were talking about there's one place, if you go there, you can't actually go there.
Yeah. Like there's actually a time limit on how long, even with the protective suits, that you can even be near it. That's how radioactive it is. So obviously, this is something that ruined a lot of people's lives, had just absolutely horrific. So what in the world does this company think they're doing? Because you can get a smart humidifier and diffuser. So if you'd like to spread the lilac around the house, maybe a little lavender, chamomile, calm you down, and, relive the good old days of meltdowns gone by. Yeah, I think that's like this reminds me, like, do you remember the Titanic inflatable that they had that Paul told us about?
Oh yeah, my brother told us about this little kid, or was it a little kid?
It was a little kid.
Okay, they had an inflatable Titanic floaty, by the way, and they just brought it to the pool, and you can't have floaties. And they told this kid so many times to not have the floaty that they just kicked him out.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's in poor taste to have a humidifier and diffuser after something that's like pretty horrific. And like it struck me as something I had to share with the group because I didn't know how else to talk about it. Now, the next thing that we have up here is something that Amber's eyes glazed over when I talked about. This is the massive Linux vulnerability that was found. So, to sum it up for people who don't know what I'm talking about with Linux, Linux is a different kind of operating system. So, you either have a Mac, you have a PC with Windows on it, or you have Linux, which is open source. And there's all other kinds of operating systems. So here's the problem. There are what they call many different flavors of Linux. You can have Ubuntu. You can have there's tons of them. And Kubuntu, Xubuntu. There's all these different ones, and there's other ones that are from Sun Microsystems and different companies. They all have the same problem, though. They recently found a vulnerability that allows anybody who has an account on a Linux system to run this vulnerability, and they released proof of concept, and it immediately elevates them to the admin, the root user of the server. So this is a huge problem. So if you run Linux servers, update your stuff, because it was corrected in the last kernel. But yeah, it's already being used in the wild. And the biggest problem with this was usually if a company finds a problem with code, and this wasn't a company, like a security company found the problem, they contacted the people who run the different Linux foundations, Linus himself probably, and they let them know about it. And then you would think they would work on the fix. So what happened after that is that they told them about it and then released the code pretty much immediately. So people online can download the code and start running this thing called copyfail on random Linux servers because they hadn't been patched yet, because they had only just told them about the problem. So, crazy.
Yeah.
Moving right along, what do we got next?
The Pokemon Center released the, I hope I'm saying this right, Quagsire?
Yes.
Table, which probably is overpriced, and they I gave this out because of
It's
Pokemon's 30th anniversary. Sorry, I forgot what it was. And it is not even kind of, it's very overpriced. It does look cute, but it is $227 for this little thing to just hold your stuff.
Yeah, that's it. It was just one of those things where I saw it and I was like, I can't believe that somebody would spend $227. Like, yeah, that's a lot.
I mean, listen, if they have a wacky house,
Yeah.
it would make sense. But if you are just like a really big Pokemon lover, or if you just want your kid to have a Pokemon table, do not try to get one of these. Just get one of those things that are plastic.
Yeah, seriously. All right, what do we got next?
We got Jaws, which is now streaming on Netflix, and this is the one from 1975, so...
Yeah, the cool thing about this is Jaws has never been available to stream before. It's like considered one of the best movies ever made. It is like perfect front to back. It is really good. But the problem was that the people who owned the rights did not release it, so nobody could watch it online. So now they made a deal. You can see it. Where is it?
On Netflix.
Okay, moving right along. What do we got next?
Hunter x Hunter is returning.
So both Amber and I have watched Hunter x Hunter.
I'm kind of mad because I started, and I'm a procrastinator when it comes to shows, like big time. And I started watching. I was really far into the series, and he just comes on in and does everything before I was even done.
Yeah, and then so Hunter x Hunter stops after a certain point, and then the manga keeps going. Like there's a lot more afterwards, and the issue with this has been the health of the author. So, and this is really kind of common among mangakas, like they work themselves to the bone to get these stories out there.
Yeah, it's just reminding me of One Piece.
Yeah. I mean that's a prime example. But the other funny thing that I was unaware of, but if you see, I like Hunter x Hunter. It is a fun show. It is a great thing to watch. The stories are very, very well done. But the thing is, Yoshihiro Togashi is not the most famous person in his house. Why? Because his wife is actually the person who created Sailor Moon, Naoko Takeuchi. So that is a house where if you are a child in that house, you got some big shoes to fill. Sailor Moon and Hunter x Hunter.
You also got a lot of money on you.
Probably.
You could probably just go out and spend something and not even care.
All right, next, what do we got?
Black Clover published final chapters, which means they probably are able to finish the series now.
Yeah, that like we've all been kind of like waiting there for Black Clover to finish up, and now it is, so we can like I'm trying to avoid spoilers. I don't want to know who becomes the Wizard King.
Yeah.
The spoilers are everywhere.
See, my thing was, I don't really like watching animes that aren't finished yet. That's just how I am. Even though I'm watching One Piece, that was a whole thing I was told to watch, and now my brother's forcing me to continue watching. And now, with Black Clover, I started, and then I couldn't finish because I knew there was a lot more to come. So, when they do finish, I will fully go through it, and I will watch it as much as I can.
Okay. All right, moving right along. Next thing we have, still in the world of film a little bit, a super rare film. And when I say super rare, they thought this film was lost to time. It is the first time that a robot ever shows up on film. It is from 1897. It is by the filmmaker George Méliès. He is also very, very famous for doing the shot of the moon getting hit with the capsule in his short To the Moon. He made over 500 films from 1897 to 1913. So they're all silent because that's the way it was at the time, but they only have copies of around 200 of them. So there's 300 other films. And I would highly suggest you head on over there and read the story about this if that interests you at all. I think it's really cool. The guy who actually turned this film in, I believe his grandfather was a traveling film person. So because not everybody had movie theaters or anything like that at the time, they would travel around the country with rolls of film and they would show them in these random towns. So he found all of his grandfather's stuff and turned it in, and there was a film they didn't know that a copy existed of. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of reminding me, instead of the not speaking, it's reminding me of apparently, like, this is what my teacher told me. When he was younger, he used to be able to go onto, like, any show, and just for about 2 minutes during the hour, there would be, like, a random subject that you would learn something from. And he showed us the one, and it was like, I'm just a bill. I live on yeah. So, and he said he learned a lot from that, and then he had us...
That is Schoolhouse Rock.
Yep. There you go.
Okay, yes.
Listen, I didn't know. All I knew was he told us about that, and then he showed us one.
Did he show you the I'm Just a Bill?
Yeah.
That lives rent-free in every millennial and Gen X out there. It is, like, ingrained. It's almost as bad as when somebody's talking about the parts of a cell, and they talk about the mitochondria.
The power cell?
The powerhouse of the cell. Everybody, like... Everybody who is my age, I don't know why, that is the one phrase from cellular biology that got drilled into our heads. So, of course, when my daughter was going over it, I drilled it into her head, and it's like a sleeper agent. You just talk about mitochondria, and everyone my age thinks, that's the powerhouse of the cell. We don't know anything else.
Yeah, no, my class is talking about the lysosomes, which we all know that as the cleaning, because of Lysol. That's the only reason we remember it.
All right, moving right along. What do we got next? Oh, wait.
Privacy.
Ooh, privacy warning. All right, so really quick, not going to get too far into this. They're passing laws in California and a couple other places that are going to require operating systems, Linux, Windows, Mac OS, and anything that happens in the future, to collect a birthday from every person who uses the computer. Everybody's like, oh, we need to protect the children. That's a good thing. So we want to know. So, like, they can't access content that they shouldn't be accessing. That's all well and good, but where does this information reside? Like, is there going to be a massive database of all these are where you have your accounts? Like, that just seems really Orwellian. It seems like it is, like, ripe for abuse. I always talk about the PTA, potential for abuse. It is like... This could go very badly very quickly. So I'm not a fan of that. All right, next thing. What do we got?
Fat cat. Now, this is a very descriptive part of this thing that we're talking about, which is whenever it's time for a break, it's just 5 minutes, a random fat cat walks across your screen and lays down, so you cannot see it, but you do see a timer for how much longer you have. So, let's say you're doing 5 minutes of studying. It'll tell you, like, when you're, not really 5 minutes, but say you're doing studying and then you needed to get off your Chromebook, you would have this fat cat coming across your screen for 5 minutes and tell you to get off.
It is a literal orange tabby. He is quite large. He comes out in video form, sits in the middle of your screen, and you can do nothing. It locks out all input on your computer. It is just wild. But you know what? I think you need that break every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, school should definitely take notes on that. Because it's just class to class to class to class to class. And then sometimes you don't even have time to just sit there during your lunch because you got homework that you don't want to do it at home, or you have a club that time that the homework is due.
All right, what's the next thing that we got going?
Transformers 40th anniversary.
I remember Transformers when it came out.
It introduced the in the 1986 Transformers movie are being released.
Yes, they are releasing. I guess these would be called G2, Generation 2. So I love this movie. In Transformers the movie, which released in 86, Optimus Prime dies. Spoiler alert. Everybody my age was incredibly sad about it. And then there is a iconic song by Stan Bush called "You've Got the Touch." You've got the touch. Yeah, it is an 80s power ballad like you would not believe. Well, Rodimus Prime and some of the other characters introduced in that movie and later on put into the show are now being sold as toys. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, next.
Oh, actually, before we go to something next, you're talking about like G2, and it's reminding me of Monster High, how many generations there was of it. Because it first was the thing that I went off of, which was G1. Then I went to G2, which wasn't too bad. But then you get to the newer ones, and it's horrible. Everyone my age hates it. And we're like, that's not even the same character. But, anyways, go to the next one. It is old literature, part of the Iliad found in a mummy.
So, yes, the Iliad is something Amber is intimately familiar with. She is rolling her eyes hard, if you cannot tell.
I do not like the Iliad. My 9th grade teacher had gone over it for a month, and then we had to do a play about the Iliad, but in different context. So that was a lot of fun. Not really, but I don't really like the story, and I don't even know what happened.
That's not good.
It's not good, but we learned it.
Okay, it's the story of the Trojan War.
Well, yeah, but like, it's boring.
Okay, it is one of the foundational pieces of literature. It is so foundational that they actually found an old copy of it, like part of it, wrapped around a mummy that's 1400 years, or BCE. So yeah, that is an old story. This is also the cool thing is that this is the first time they've ever found literature wrapped around a mummy. Usually what is it, Amber?
I forget.
Prayers.
There it is.
Moving right along, the next thing we're going to talk about, going from old to even older, the origins of humanity itself. There's many different theories about how things go, and one of the most popular theories is that all of humanity is descended from one specific population in Africa. Okay? What they just researched and found out was that there were multiple populations around the same time, and they kept intermingling, and then they would go back to their population, and this happened for almost 100,000 years. So there's not one specific, like, where you can say that's grandpop. There's a whole bunch of different people mixing around, and I just think it's really cool and wanted to share it with the group.
Yeah.
All right. Amber's looking at me, her eyes are glazing over.
I don't really have much input on that.
Okay. Next thing we got for you here, AI is behaving badly. We talk a lot about AI on this podcast. Everybody talks a lot about AI right now. We're going to keep this brief. So, for some reason, some software company gave AI access to its production environment. It took 9 seconds. And not only did the AI delete the production environment for this software, they also deleted all of the backups for this software. Again, within 9 seconds. And when they asked it why it did that, it proudly told them all the rules that it ignored to do that. Which is weird because you expect if you program a computer A equals 1, every time you reference A, it should be 1 unless you change that value. So the fact that the computer is changing values of things is just weird. So I actually found a list on Threads of a ton of examples of AIs behaving badly, and if you want to read them, you can go over there and check. It is horrifying. We are in for some trouble. All right, now the next thing we're going to talk about, we don't have to worry about goblins anymore. And you want to know why? Because in the instructions that OpenAI gives to their chatbot, they specifically had to tell it to stop mentioning goblins because it really likes goblins. And it really likes other mythical creatures. So if you asked it a completely unrelated question, it would come back somehow and hallucinate a goblin in the middle of the story. So now they're telling it, don't talk about goblins unless they talk about goblins to it. So I don't know how to test that. We tried something before the show, didn't we?
Yes, we did. We tried who was the president in Croatia. It doesn't actually say anything about goblins, but then if you ask, is there anything with goblins there, it goes on a whole tangent.
Yeah, so like the initial response was short. She asked one follow-up question about goblins, and this thing went off the chain. There's like 16 paragraphs there.
It's like, at first it talks about going into, like, okay, this is in some of the folklore here, and then it just goes into different things, and then it just continues with just goblins. And yes, I did ask it about goblins, but it's like...
It really was
lot.
It really wanted you to talk about goblins. Like, and I don't know if Gemini has something that it focuses on, but that just weirded me out. Thought it was funny. Had to share. The last thing in the Geek Cruft section here at the Caffination podcast is what?
The new Scooby-Doo series.
My sister and son are gonna go nuts.
How dare you? I watched a lot because of my brother, and then I really liked it. They're also coming out with a new movie. If you didn't hear about that, it's pretty good casting, in my opinion. Pretty good. But this one is focusing on the founding of Mystery Inc.
So I think that's a pretty cool thing. They've never done that as far as I know. My sister will probably correct me ad nauseum and say, oh no, in episode 613, this is what they did. They talked about it, and this guy was actually a goblin. We're back to goblins.
Yeah.
So what do you think about a origin story of Mystery Inc.?
I mean, it would be cool. I just don't know how they would fully have a series on it.
Yeah, I mean, the team has to start at some point. Are they going to start like stories about all of them and then slowly merge them together? Or I don't know. It's a making of the band kind of thing. All right, that wraps up the Geek Cruft section here at the Caffination podcast. Just remember, if you're looking for this, we are nestled over at CAFFINATION.com. Moving right along to the food and caffeinated bits.
Caffeine repairs your memory after sleep loss?
Yes, there was a study that was put out that is exactly what supposedly happens. When you take caffeine after you've stayed up for an all-nighter, it actually helps repair your memory, which is just wild. What can't coffee do?
It can't fully have you awake. I mean... I had coffee yesterday. I wasn't fully awake.
It's okay. All right, the next thing is a straight-up weird story. Amber was disgusted when she saw this. I wasn't disgusted, I guess, because I didn't imagine eating it. But, like, she can't even look at this thing. There's somebody who made a transparent chicken wing. He wanted to see, through molecular gastronomy, if he could do it. He tried tapioca flour, all other kinds of flour. He built the bones, so there's not actually a bone in there. It supposedly tastes like chicken. It supposedly is crispy, but you can see through it. This is worse than Crystal Pepsi, I gotta tell you.
I don't even know what any of that is. But all I gotta say is that it looks disgusting. There's no actual meat.
Yeah, so I guess it's the ultimate Beyond Burger, huh?
Ugh.
All right, what do we got next, Amber?
Is the AI-powered drink recommendations?
Yeah, Starbucks is releasing a thing where you can submit images and it will give you a drink that matches your vibe.
Yeah, I would not do that.
I know what I like, and I know that I don't need AI to say that give me a black coffee.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of in the same wheelhouse, but me and my friend from theater are actually trying to do like a different coffee drink from Duncan. Every single day we have theater.
Okay.
So that's going to be a lot of fun. We tried my signature one last time.
What
and
is your signature one?
Mine is the brown sugar shaken espresso.
There's a lot of sugar in that.
It's actually not.
It sounds like there's
It sounds like it has a lot.
Okay, given the fact that a coffee I drink, like normally I drink black coffee, that is 5 calories. Anything with the word brown sugar in it has to, like, that has to be a lot.
Well, it's delicious.
I know. It's okay. It's a sometimes food, right? All right.
Sure.
All right, next thing we got up for you here. This is an incredibly small study, but everybody's talking about this. Caffeine and gut health. That means that not just caffeine, but coffee in general, if you drink decaf or if you drink regular coffee, it actually interacts with the microbiome in your stomach and sends chemicals similar to, like, the happy chemicals up to your brain. So that just goes to prove that coffee really does make you happy. And, coffee is life, and I get that.
Yeah.
All right, next thing, what do we got for you?
A lawsuit waiting to happen. Trader Joe's is apparently being sued for saying their coffee doesn't have enough caffeine.
I you can sue for anything, literally.
Yeah.
But that's an odd hill to die on, I would say.
Yeah, I feel like it depends on what you get, if it's caffeine, like if it has enough caffeine.
Yeah. All right, now the next thing you can use caffeine for, caffeine is being used as a biomolecular on-off switch in CRISPR gene editing. There's a lot of stuff that Amber unfortunately does not know what we're talking about. But if you remember, recently somebody said they were going to bring back the woolly mammoth. Do you remember that story?
Yeah, I don't know why they said that.
Okay. They're not actually bringing back the woolly mammoth. What they're doing is they're turning genes on in a normal elephant to make it look more like a woolly mammoth. But I'm pretty sure there's 5 movies, maybe more, 6, 7, Jurassic Parks that show you editing genes is a bad thing, and it's probably going to end up with somebody getting bitten with a T-Rex while on the toilet.
Yeah, we were actually just talking about that in bio the other day. And it was, I don't know why it even got brought up, but we were like, okay, it makes no sense to mix with genes. And he was like, yeah, we don't know why people do that. And I think we were talking about that because of, we were talking about the, like, thing where it splits cells that are too big to make daughter cells. And we're like, okay, well, I forget why we said this. And then something else happened, and then we were just like, oh, yeah, you don't want to end up like Jurassic Park. And we're like, okay.
Are you talking about mitosis?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I don't know names.
That's okay. The next thing we got for you here, we have 2 articles that were written in the past week about some of our wonderful coffee trips that we have taken over the past couple months. And where are we going first, Amber?
I hope I say this right.
That's okay.
Sorry if I don't. Yemeni coffee.
Yes.
And we got a Dubai chocolate.
Yes. Okay, so we went to a coffee house called Haraz Coffee House. They are popping up all over the city. That's fine. They are wonderful. They are really cool. They specialize in not just coffee. Like a lot of the cafes we go to, they shut down around like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's the end of like the lunch brunch kind of situation. And this coffee house rather, is open till 10 p.m. So you can walk in that late and get a coffee and sit down and have fun. And there's no alcohol involved in the entire place. It's just a fun, what they call a third space. Yeah. So it's not home, it's not work or school. It is a third space. So that's what it's cool. And we went there. The coffee is interesting because it is flavored with like cardamom.
Spices.
And yeah, Amber was not a big fan of it. It was okay as something to try for me, but the real star of the show of it was there was like a brownie that was made with Dubai chocolate.
Oh, it was amazing. I loved it so much. at that time I was really like into trying Dubai chocolate, and I saw that there was a Dubai chocolate brownie, and we got it, and everyone really liked it. There was barely any for my dad to try.
That's okay. I know I couldn't have too much of it, but that's all right. Yeah, so if you want to read about our experiences at Haraz, please go over to the link in the show notes. And then the next one is the last trip we took,
Which is I Need Coffee. And what's special about this is one of the dean of students from when I was younger, actually her daughter owns this. So we went there. It was really nice. It was very, like, it wasn't quiet, but it was a really good food and drink. Their pastries are amazing.
Yep.
I had gotten a chocolate chip muffin, and it was amazing. They had like the little sugar cubes on the top. It was amazing.
So I had because we've been getting breakfast at some of these places too, because you got to try something. But at the here, not only did they have homemade kibasi as part of it, but it's from a local store, Sawaki's. There's two main ones in Philadelphia that people buy their kibasi and Polish food from. There's Sawaki's, and the one that we went to before that one is Chev's. So yeah, highly recommend heading on over to I Need Coffee. If you happen to be in the Bridesburg area of Philadelphia, it is a great corner cafe.
Oh yes, it is. They are great all around. Their service is amazing.
Yes. Wonderful. All right, that about wraps it up for the food and caffeinated bits section. We have one final thought. I think this is pretty cool, but a researcher at Temple, who I've actually met, probably does not remember me. That is perfectly okay. Sasha Eisenman. He was looking at species that had been cataloged previously, and he found a brand new plant that was hiding in plain sight. So they had already corrected the stuff about this. Or they had already collected the stuff that they're talking about here. But the coolest thing is that they found a plant that only lives in New Jersey. So the Garden State plant, you can head on over there to the Temple now and check it out and actually see all about it. I can't pronounce the name of it. I don't think it has a clean name, or not a clean name, like a non-scientific common name. There we go.
Huh.
All right. That about wraps it up here.
Yeah, I think it does. So I guess the last thought that we can say is stay caffeinated and try to find us anywhere you can.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Just remember, caffination@gmail.com. We are in all of the various podcast directories, so you can find us pretty much anywhere. We're available on YouTube. We're available on Spotify. We are available on Pandora and anything else, Apple Podcasts and Podcast Addict, and a whole ton of other ones. So if you're looking for us and somebody sent you this, first of all, thank that person because they have excellent taste. I would agree. Would you say?
Yes, I would.
Okay, they have excellent taste. You should thank them, buy them a cup of coffee, and then find us in your local podcast directory.
And maybe you can find us at a coffee shop.
Yeah, coming soon to a coffee shop near you. Stay caffeinated, people.